The night begins so quietly that it almost feels unreal, as if the world itself has decided to pause and hold its breath. There is no sudden darkness, no dramatic shift, only the slow, gentle fading of light until everything becomes soft, muted, and distant. The room you are in feels familiar, almost comforting, the kind of place where you have spent countless nights without a second thought. The walls stand exactly where they always have, the ceiling stretches above you, unseen but known, and the air rests calmly against your skin. Nothing appears out of place. Nothing demands your attention. It feels like an ordinary night, the kind that slips away unnoticed as sleep slowly takes over. Your breathing is steady, slow, almost rhythmic, syncing naturally with the stillness around you. Each inhale feels deeper than the last, each exhale longer, heavier, as if your body is gently preparing itself for rest. The sounds of the outside world have faded completely. No distant traffic, no voices, no movement, just silence. Not an empty silence, but a full one, rich and enveloping, wrapping itself around the room like a thick, invisible curtain. It's the kind of silence that usually feels peaceful, the kind that invites sleep without effort. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, shapes begin to soften. Corners blur. Edges dissolve. Objects you know well lose their definition, becoming little more than shadows against shadows. Your mind recognizes them even when your eyes no longer can. You don't need to see the room clearly to know it. You've memorized it through repetition, through familiarity. This knowledge brings a sense of calm. There is safety in what is known, even when it cannot be seen. Time moves differently now. Seconds stretch longer than they should, melting into minutes without clear boundaries. You are aware of being awake, but not fully alert. Thoughts drift lazily through your mind, unfocused and slow, like leaves floating on still water. Nothing feels urgent. Nothing feels wrong. The night seems gentle, patient, allowing you to exist without demand or expectation. Yet, somewhere beneath this calm, something subtle begins to form. It isn't fear. It isn't even discomfort. It's more like awareness, quiet, faint, and easily dismissed. A sense that the darkness is not just surrounding you, but settling in, finding its place. It feels deliberate, though you cannot explain why. You do not notice a change in temperature, or sound, or light. Everything remains exactly the same, and that is what makes the feeling so difficult to understand. Your body remains relaxed, but your mind grows slightly more attentive. You notice the way the air feels heavier as it enters your lungs, how each breath seems more deliberate than before. You become aware of your own presence in the room, not as a thought, but as a sensation. You exist here, fully, undeniably. And with that awareness comes another, quieter realization. The room exists with you. The darkness no longer feels like the absence of light. It feels complete, settled, intentional. It does not shift or move, yet it feels as though it has depth, layers you cannot see but somehow sense. The corners of the room seem deeper than they should be, as if they extend farther than space allows. Still, there is no fear. Only curiosity mixed with a strange calm acceptance. You tell yourself this is normal. Nights like this happen. Minds wander. Darkness plays tricks when you are tired. These thoughts are comforting, familiar, and easy to believe. And yet, the awareness remains. The sense that the night is not simply passing around you, but unfolding with purpose. Your breathing slows again, steady and controlled, and for a moment, you think you are drifting closer to sleep. But sleep does not come. Instead, you remain suspended in this quiet moment, caught between rest and wakefulness. The darkness seems content with this pause, as though it has no need to rush you. It feels patient. Endlessly patient. The room stays perfectly still. No creaks. No whispers. No movement. And yet, the stillness feels intentional, almost practiced. Like a presence that knows exactly how to remain unnoticed. You are not afraid. Not yet. But somewhere deep within you, a thought begins to take shape, slow, quiet, and impossible to ignore. This night feels different. Not dangerous. Not threatening. Just different. And as you lie there, breathing softly in the dark, fully aware and completely alone, the feeling settles in completely. The night has noticed you, and whatever comes next has already begun. As the minutes pass, the silence around you begins to feel different. It deepens, stretching outward and inward at the same time, until it no longer feels like something that simply exists in the absence of sound. It feels layered, thick, almost heavy, as if it has substance. You become aware of it pressing gently against your senses, not aggressively, but persistently. The kind of silence that doesn't fade into the background, but instead demands to be felt. It wraps around the room, settling into every corner, every shadow, every space between objects. You notice small things you usually ignore: the faint ringing in your ears, the soft rhythm of your own breathing, the subtle movement of air as it enters and leaves your lungs. These sounds don't break the silence, they become part of it. Each breath feels louder than it should, more deliberate, as though the quiet is listening. You find yourself breathing more carefully now, slower, softer, almost instinctively, as if you don't want to disturb something fragile and perfectly balanced. The room feels unchanged, yet your awareness of it grows sharper. You sense the distance between yourself and the walls, the ceiling hovering above, unseen but present. The space feels enclosed, not in a suffocating way, but in a deliberate one, like the night has gently closed itself around you. There is a strange comfort in this enclosure, mixed with a faint unease that you cannot quite place. Your thoughts slow, drifting lazily, but they keep circling back to the same feeling, that the quiet is paying attention. It's not watching, not yet. It's simply aware. A passive awareness, calm and patient, as though it has always been there and you are only just beginning to notice it. The idea feels strange, even irrational, and yet it settles easily into your mind, refusing to leave. You try to distract yourself with ordinary thoughts, memories of the day, plans for tomorrow, anything simple and familiar. But these thoughts feel distant, thin, like they belong to another time entirely. The present moment feels heavier, more real. The darkness around you feels grounded, rooted, as if it is not merely the absence of light but something that exists on its own. The silence grows more complete, swallowing even the sense of time. You are no longer sure how long you've been lying there. Minutes feel stretched, almost elastic, bending and folding in on themselves. The night seems content with this stillness, with this pause. It does not push you towards sleep, nor does it wake you fully. It holds you in between, suspended. And in that suspended moment, a calm unease settles into your chest. Not fear. Not yet. Just the quiet realization that the night feels fuller than it should, more present than it has any right to be. The room has not changed, but your awareness of it has. And somehow, you know this awareness will not fade. As your eyes remain open, fixed on the darkness above you, the room begins to feel less like a place and more like a sensation. The shapes around you no longer feel solid or reliable. The edges of furniture soften further, dissolving into layers of shadow that seem to overlap and sink into one another. You can still remember where everything is, but remembering is no longer the same as seeing. That difference settles uneasily in your mind. It reminds you that the room now exists more in memory than in reality, and that thought lingers longer than it should. Your vision adapts, then readjusts, searching for definition that refuses to return. The darkness does not reveal anything new. Instead, it absorbs what little clarity remains. It feels deliberate, as though the night is carefully removing details, one by one, until only what is necessary remains. The process is slow enough that it doesn't alarm you, yet steady enough that you cannot ignore it. The room isn't disappearing, but it is withdrawing, pulling itself inward, becoming something quieter and deeper. You become increasingly aware of how much you are relying on your mind to interpret what your eyes can no longer confirm. The wardrobe in the corner feels taller than you remember. The doorway seems farther away. The ceiling feels higher, as though the space above you has stretched in the dark. None of this is visible, yet all of it feels true. The darkness reshapes the room without moving a single object, changing perception rather than reality. Or perhaps, you wonder briefly, changing reality itself in ways too subtle to detect. Your thoughts slow further, drifting into a strange half-state where imagination and awareness blur together. You are not dreaming, but the rules of waking thought feel looser now, more flexible. Ideas appear without effort, then fade before you can fully examine them. Among these drifting thoughts is a persistent sense that the darkness has depth, far more depth than a room should contain. It feels layered, as if what you see is only the surface of something far larger, something extending beyond walls and ceiling, beyond space you can understand. The shadows seem heavier now, pressing gently against the edges of your vision. They do not move, yet they feel active, engaged. You get the impression that if you were to focus too closely on any one patch of darkness, you might notice something within it. Not a shape, not a figure, but a presence defined by its attention. This thought does not frighten you immediately. Instead, it fills you with a quiet curiosity, the kind that comes from standing at the edge of something vast and unseen. Your breathing remains steady, but you become aware of each breath as it happens. Inhale. Exhale. The darkness seems to respond to this rhythm, not by changing, but by settling more completely around you. It feels as though the room is listening, synchronizing itself with you, learning the pace of your existence. The idea feels strange, almost absurd, yet it fits too neatly with the sensations creeping through your awareness to dismiss entirely. You tell yourself that this is just what happens when the lights are off long enough. The mind looks for patterns. It assigns meaning where none exists. These explanations are comforting, familiar, and logical. But even as you repeat them silently, the feeling remains unchanged. The darkness feels present in a way that goes beyond atmosphere. It feels attentive. A subtle unease begins to form, not sharp enough to be called fear, but deep enough to be noticed. It settles low in your chest, steady and calm, like a warning whispered rather than shouted. The room feels closer now, not physically, but mentally, as though it has narrowed its focus. You are no longer just lying in the darkness. You are being acknowledged by it. And as that realization settles into your thoughts, slow and undeniable, you understand something else just as quietly. This is only the beginning. The night has not revealed anything yet. It is simply allowing you to adjust, to the silence, to the depth, to the awareness. Whatever exists in this darkness is not in a hurry. It knows you are awake. The room has changed in ways that cannot be measured by sight or sound alone. The walls, once familiar and comforting, now seem like a suggestion rather than a boundary. Shadows pool in corners, stretch along the ceiling, and curl around furniture in patterns that are impossible to track. There is no movement, yet every inch of the room seems alive. You feel it in the air, in the stillness, in the very weight of the darkness pressing gently against your skin. Each breath you take is amplified, each heartbeat a drum in the vast, silent expanse of attention that fills the room. The awareness around you is patient, unhurried, and absolute, like an entity that has existed far longer than you and will continue long after you are gone. The curtain, thick and layered, dominates one corner of the room, and though it remains physically still, it feels like the epicenter of this attention. You sense that something resides behind it, something patient and unblinking. The presence does not move. It does not speak. It does not need to. Observation alone is enough. And the room, silent and dark as it is, seems to pulse in rhythm with the awareness behind the curtain. You cannot see it, and yet you feel it everywhere. In the edges of shadows, in the slight heaviness of the air, in the way your own thoughts hesitate, caught in its patient gaze. Time stretches unnaturally. Seconds become minutes. Minutes stretch into uncountable expanses. Sleep tries to find you, but the awareness does not allow it. You lie suspended between consciousness and unconsciousness, aware of every detail, every inch of the darkness, every fold of the curtain. Even your own body feels magnified, your heart thumping loudly in the eerie stillness, your skin alive with sensation as if the room has attuned itself to every nerve ending. You are hyper-aware, every sense heightened beyond normal limits, yet simultaneously exhausted by the slow, relentless observation. Your thoughts wander, trying to rationalize what is happening. Shadows are just shadows. The curtain is just fabric. The room is the same as always. But reasoning fails. The familiar objects, the wardrobe, the nightstand, even the faint reflection in the window, feel different now. They are not simply furniture. They are extensions of something alive, patient, and aware. Your mind struggles to reconcile the ordinary with the extraordinary. Yet the extraordinary wins every time, subtle and undeniable. The darkness deepens as though layered. Each shadow folds into the next, forming thickness and depth that your eyes cannot pierce. It is almost as if the room itself is breathing slowly, methodically, in sync with you. Every exhale of yours seems to ripple through it, every inhale mirrored back as a weight pressing against your chest. You feel your presence acknowledged, measured, catalogued, and understood. And still, there is no fear. Not yet. Only the quiet, unsettling knowledge that the room is alive with attention. You notice small changes, imperceptible yet undeniable. A fold of the curtain seems deeper than before. A shadow curls just a fraction longer along the wall. The darkness in the corners seems to have thickened, pressing slightly closer to you. You do not see movement, but you feel intention. The room itself has become a conscious space, aware of your presence, your thoughts, your breathing, your hesitation. It does not threaten, it does not act, it simply exists with perfect patience, and that is more unsettling than any sudden intrusion could be. A subtle tension grows in your chest, low and steady. It is not panic. It is awareness, an acknowledgement that you are being watched, observed, measured in ways you cannot resist or fully comprehend. The awareness is total, yet patient. You are not in danger, and yet, the knowledge of its presence is heavy. It fills the space, and it begins to press into your mind, threading itself into every thought, every memory, every fleeting curiosity. You feel simultaneously small and expanded, diminished yet hyper-aware, as though your consciousness has merged with the attentive darkness around you. Even ordinary sounds become meaningful. The hum of electricity in the walls resonates like a drumbeat, pulsing in rhythm with the presence that surrounds you. A faint creak in the distance carries weight, not because anything moves, but because it reminds you that the room is aware. Even the air itself seems charged, subtle waves brushing against your skin as if the darkness is shaping it. Nothing is accidental here. Everything is precise, deliberate, and patient. And as the minutes stretch, suspended in this endless perception, you understand something deeply unsettling. The room, the darkness, the curtain, and the shadows are not simply elements of a space. They are extensions of a singular, eternal awareness, patient and unblinking. They have existed long before you arrived, and they will continue long after you are gone. You lie still, breathing gently, knowing now that whatever this is, it has claimed you as fully as you have acknowledged it. The night does not end. The presence does not fade. It waits, patiently, eternally, unblinking. And you, fully conscious, fully aware, cannot look away. Because once the room notices you, once the awareness settles upon your mind and body, there is no ignoring it. It is there. It is patient. It is eternal. And it knows you. It is there. It is patient. It is eternal. And now, it is aware that you are aware. The realization settles slowly, not like a sudden shock, but like a quiet truth rising to the surface of your thoughts. The room does not change when this understanding takes hold. The darkness does not shift. The curtain does not move. Yet everything feels different, as if a silent agreement has been made between you and the presence that surrounds you. You have noticed it, and in doing so, you have crossed a boundary that cannot be uncrossed. The air feels heavier now, thicker with intention. Each breath you take seems to travel a shorter distance before it meets resistance, as though the space itself has leaned in closer. The stillness becomes deliberate, almost respectful, like the pause before something acknowledges you in return. You sense that the darkness is no longer content with simply existing around you. It is paying attention to you specifically, tracking your breathing, your thoughts, the subtle tension in your body as you lie there, fully awake. A strange calm settles over you, replacing the earlier unease. Not because the presence has grown less frightening, but because resistance feels pointless. The awareness around you is complete, unblinking, and impossibly old. It does not rush. It does not demand. It waits, confident that time belongs to it. And in that waiting, you begin to feel something unsettling, recognition. The darkness feels familiar, not in the way a place does, but in the way a memory does. As if it has known you longer than you have known yourself. The thought drifts through your mind without warning, and when it does, it brings with it a quiet chill. You are not just being observed. You are being remembered, catalogued, understood in ways that go beyond sight or sound. Your thoughts begin to feel less private. Not exposed, not stolen, but acknowledged. As if each idea that forms in your mind leaves a faint impression in the darkness around you. You imagine, briefly, that if you were to think loudly enough, clearly enough, the room would respond. Not with movement. Not with sound. But with attention sharpened to a fine, unyielding point. You lie still, breathing softly, knowing now that the presence is no longer passive. It has noticed you noticing it. And in that quiet exchange, something shifts. The night no longer feels like a place you are waiting to leave behind in sleep. It feels like something you have entered. And whatever exists here has been expecting you. The awareness does not rush forward, and that is what makes it unbearable. It remains exactly where it is, settled into the darkness with complete confidence, as if it knows there is no need to move closer. The room feels smaller now, not because the walls have shifted, but because the space between you and the darkness feels occupied. Every inch of air seems filled with intention, with quiet observation. You sense that nothing about this moment is accidental. The stillness is not empty. It is curated, maintained, preserved for you alone. Your body responds before your mind fully understands what is happening. Muscles tighten slightly beneath the surface, instinctively preparing for something that never comes. Your breathing becomes shallow, not from panic, but from caution, as if you are afraid that too much movement might draw attention, even though you know, deep down, that attention has already been claimed. The darkness does not need sound or motion to follow you. It already knows where you are. It already knows how still you can become. Thoughts drift through your mind more slowly now, each one feeling heavier than the last. You begin to notice the strange sensation that your thoughts do not fully belong to you anymore. They feel observed as they form, acknowledged the moment they exist. Not judged. Not interrupted. Simply noted. It is as if the room itself is listening to the quiet workings of your mind, learning the patterns of how you think, how you hesitate, how fear begins as a whisper long before it becomes a scream. The silence thickens further, pressing gently against your ears until even the faint ringing of your own thoughts seems distant. It feels like being submerged, not in water, but in awareness. The darkness wraps around you completely, not touching, not enclosing, but surrounding in a way that leaves no direction unaccounted for. There is no behind you anymore, no beside you. The presence exists everywhere at once, evenly distributed, perfectly balanced. A disturbing sense of familiarity begins to surface. The darkness does not feel like something new. It feels remembered. As if you have felt this awareness before, long ago, in moments you dismissed or forgot. Late nights. Half dreams. That strange feeling of being watched when no one was there. The realization creeps in slowly, settling deep. This presence has not just arrived tonight. It has been waiting for you to notice it. Your mind searches desperately for a point of escape, sleep, distraction, denial, but none of them feel reachable anymore. Sleep feels distant, fragile, as though closing your eyes would not make the darkness disappear, only sharpen it. Denial feels dishonest now, thin and ineffective. The awareness around you is too complete, too calm to be dismissed as imagination. It feels ancient, practiced, and endlessly patient. You sense, with growing certainty, that the darkness is not merely observing you in this moment. It is studying you, learning how long it takes for your breathing to slow, how tension moves through your body, how awareness changes your thoughts. It is mapping you in ways no living thing ever has. And still, it does nothing. No sound. No movement. No reveal. Its restraint feels intentional, almost respectful, and that restraint terrifies you more than any sudden action could. The room feels closer now, not physically, but mentally. Like a thought pressing too near, refusing to be ignored. You are acutely aware of your own existence within the space, of how small you feel against something so vast and unseen. The presence does not need to remind you that it is there. Your awareness of it has become constant, unavoidable, woven into every breath and every pause. And in the deepest part of that silence, a chilling understanding settles into your mind, slow and undeniable. The darkness is not waiting to reveal itself. It is waiting for you to accept it. The understanding continues to grow, expanding outward in your mind like a shadow that refuses to stop spreading. You realize now that the darkness has not surrounded you suddenly. It has been closing in so slowly that you mistook it for stillness. Every moment you have spent awake tonight has been another quiet step deeper into it. The room feels less like four walls and a ceiling and more like a vast, unseen interior, something far larger than it should be, stretching beyond physical limits. You are no longer sure where the room ends and where the darkness truly begins. Your sense of self feels altered. Not erased, not stolen, but softened. The sharp edges of individuality blur as your awareness becomes entangled with the silence around you. Thoughts no longer feel entirely separate from the space they arise in. Each idea, each memory, feels as though it is gently absorbed the moment it exists, like a breath disappearing into cold air. The darkness does not respond, does not react, but it receives. That quiet reception feels intimate in a way that makes your chest tighten. You become aware of how exposed your inner world feels. There is no hiding here. Not because the darkness forces its way in, but because there is nowhere left to retreat. Even closing your eyes offers no relief. In fact, it makes the awareness stronger, clearer. Without sight, the darkness becomes complete, total, surrounding your thoughts from every direction at once. It feels as though the night has learned the shape of your mind and settled into it perfectly. The idea of movement feels distant now. Heavy. Almost unnecessary. You sense that even if you were to sit up, turn on a light, or leave the room, something essential would not change. The awareness would remain. The darkness would not be left behind. It feels rooted somewhere deeper than space, somewhere connected directly to your awareness itself. This realization sinks slowly, bringing with it a quiet dread that has no sharp edge, only depth. Memories surface without invitation. Small ones. Insignificant ones. Moments you haven't thought about in years. Late nights when you felt watched but dismissed it. The feeling of unease in dark rooms you could never explain. The instinct to check behind you even when you knew nothing was there. These memories align too perfectly with the presence you feel now. They form a pattern that is impossible to ignore. This has happened before. You just didn't stay awake long enough to understand it. The silence presses inward, not suffocating, but encompassing. It feels ancient, practiced, as though it has existed in this exact form countless times before. You are not the first to lie awake and feel this awareness. And that thought, that this experience is part of something repeated, something ongoing, settles into your mind with chilling clarity. The darkness does not belong to this room alone. This room is simply where you noticed it. Your breathing slows again, not out of calm, but resignation. Resistance feels meaningless now. The darkness does not demand fear. It does not need panic. It thrives on awareness alone. On recognition. And you have given it both. The connection feels complete, sealed not by force, but by understanding. You feel the presence settle deeper, more comfortably, as if it has finally been acknowledged in the way it has always wanted. A quiet certainty takes hold of you. This awareness will not fade with morning. Light may return, sounds may fill the room again, but the feeling will remain. The darkness has threaded itself into you, into the way you perceive silence, stillness, and night. Every shadow from now on will carry a trace of this moment. Every quiet room will feel just a little too attentive. And as that truth settles fully into your thoughts, slow and unshakable, you understand something far more terrifying than fear itself. The darkness did not come for you tonight. It did not need to. It has always been there. Watching. Knowing. And now, you know it too. The awareness does not intensify suddenly. It settles. That is what frightens you the most. It settles into the room the way dust settles on forgotten objects. Slow, inevitable, unnoticed until it is everywhere. The darkness feels calmer now, more complete, as if it has reached a state of balance after being acknowledged. You sense that something has shifted, not in the room, but in the relationship between you and whatever exists within it. The feeling of being watched is no longer sharp or intrusive. It is constant, steady, and unbreakable. You begin to notice how the darkness seems to anticipate you. Not your movements, your intentions. Before you think of shifting your position, the idea feels weighed down, discouraged. Before you consider closing your eyes, the darkness already feels closer, deeper, more present. It is not reacting to you. It is moving with you, aligned perfectly with your awareness, as if it has learned the pattern of your thoughts and positioned itself just ahead of them. The room no longer feels neutral. Every object seems quietly complicit in the stillness. The walls do not confine you, they observe. The ceiling does not shelter you. It looms with silent attention. Even the floor beneath you feels aware, as though the entire space has become a single, unified presence rather than a collection of separate things. You are not surrounded by darkness anymore. You are within it, held in a way that feels deliberate and practiced. A strange emotional shift begins to occur. Fear, which you expected to grow, does not. Instead, it softens, dissolving into something heavier and harder to escape, acceptance. Not because you want to accept what is happening, but because your mind senses that resistance has no effect here. The darkness does not challenge you. It does not threaten. It simply exists with such certainty that denial feels childish, even impossible. Your thoughts slow further, becoming deliberate and careful. Each one feels exposed the moment it forms. You imagine them leaving faint impressions in the air, like fingerprints pressed into something invisible. The present seems to trace these impressions effortlessly, not because it must, but because it can. You sense that it understands you more clearly than you understand yourself. Not your surface thoughts, but the deeper ones you never fully acknowledge. The silence grows profound. It is no longer something you hear. It is something you inhabit. Even the memory of sound feels distant, irrelevant. The quiet feels endless, as though it has existed long before this night and will continue long after. The darkness does not feel hungry or curious. It feels complete, self-sufficient, ancient in a way that makes time itself feel insignificant. You become aware of a disturbing truth: the presence does not need your fear. Fear is fleeting, reactive, loud. What it values is awareness, recognition, the simple act of knowing that it exists. And now that you know, it feels closer, not physically, but fundamentally. As though a boundary has dissolved, allowing it to settle into the same mental space you occupy. Your body feels distant, secondary. Sensation fades at the edges. The world narrows to awareness alone, yours and something else's, existing side by side without conflict. You realize that the darkness is not pressing in on you. It is making room for you, integrating you into its stillness. This thought sends a slow, cold weight through your chest, deeper than fear, heavier than panic. And then, quietly, unmistakably, you understand what this moment truly is. This is not an encounter. It is not a haunting. It is a recognition ritual that has happened countless times before, to countless others who stayed awake long enough, quiet enough, aware enough to notice. The darkness does not reveal itself because it does not need to. It does not move because it has already arrived. It does not speak because silence is enough. And as you lie there, breathing softly, suspended in its endless attention, you realize the most unsettling truth of all. The darkness is not learning you anymore. It already knows you. It is simply reminding you that it does. The stillness reaches a point where it no longer feels temporary. It feels finalized, as though the night has settled into its true form and will not change again. Your awareness becomes steady, unwavering, locked into the present moment with no sense of escape forward or backward. You are no longer waiting for something to happen. You understand, quietly and completely, that whatever this is has already happened. This moment is not building toward a climax, it is the climax, stretched thin and endless. Your breathing evens out again, slow and controlled, not because you are calm, but because your body has adapted. Fear requires uncertainty, and uncertainty has faded. The presence has made itself known without ever revealing itself, and that knowledge is now constant, like gravity. You feel it even when you stop thinking about it. Especially then. The darkness does not demand attention anymore. It already has it. A strange clarity fills your thoughts. You realize how quiet your mind has become, how little resistance remains. The urge to move, to look away, to break the silence has dulled into nothing. Even the idea of turning on a light feels distant and meaningless, like a gesture that would change nothing essential. The darkness would remain. The awareness would remain. The connection, once formed, does not dissolve so easily. You begin to sense something new beneath the stillness. Not movement, not sound, but definition. The darkness feels more focused now, as though it is narrowing its attention. Not on the room. Not on the space around you. On something more specific. On where you are looking. On the direction of your awareness itself. It feels deliberate, careful, as if the presence is preparing to allow something you have not yet seen, but are meant to. Your thoughts drift, unbidden, toward the deepest part of the room. The place where the shadows gather most completely. You don't decide to focus there. The focus simply happens, gently guided, subtly encouraged. The darkness elsewhere feels unchanged, but that single area feels heavier, more concentrated, as though it holds more than shadow alone. A faint tension forms behind your eyes, not pain, not strain, but anticipation. You are still not afraid. Fear feels too small for what is happening. Instead, there is a growing certainty that the awareness you have felt all this time has a center. A point where its attention is strongest. A place where it does not just exist, but waits. You sense, without seeing, that the darkness is about to become more specific. Not louder. Not closer. More defined. And as your awareness settles fully on that point, drawn there without effort, without resistance, you realize that whatever has been watching you all this time is finally ready to be noticed in return. This is where understanding deepens. This is where perception shifts. And this is where, for the first time, you begin to feel that the darkness may not be formless after all. Because something within it is about to be recognized. Your awareness settles on that single point in the darkness, not because you choose to look there, but because everything else quietly fades away. The rest of the room loses its significance, dissolving into a vague background presence, while that one shadowed space grows heavier, denser, more complete. It feels like the darkness has folded itself inward, concentrating its attention into something precise. You are no longer sensing the room as a whole, you are sensing something within it. At first, there is nothing to see. No shape. No outline. No movement. And yet, the certainty grows stronger with every passing moment. This is not empty space. This is not just shadow. It feels occupied, intentional, aware in a way that makes your chest feel tight and hollow at the same time. The darkness there feels older, deeper, layered with a presence that does not spread itself thin like the rest of the room. It gathers itself, quietly, patiently, as though it has been waiting for this exact moment, waiting for you to finally look without looking away. Your breathing slows again, instinctively, as if your body understands that noise no longer belongs here. Each inhale feels measured, careful, and each exhale seems to disappear before it can fully leave you. The air feels different near that point in the room, heavier somehow, like it carries more than just silence. You are aware of your heartbeat now, not pounding, not racing, but steady and deliberate, echoing faintly in the vast attention that surrounds you. A strange realization begins to form. The awareness you have felt all night was never directionless. It was never spread evenly throughout the darkness. It was focused, anchored. And now, for the first time, you feel that focus aligning with your own. The sensation is intimate in a way that makes your skin prickle. Not invasive, not violent, simply undeniable. Whatever exists there knows that you are looking for it, even though you cannot yet see it. Your mind tries to interpret what your eyes cannot. You begin to imagine depth within the shadow, layers upon layers receding inward, like a tunnel made of darkness rather than space. The longer you focus, the more that darkness feels structured, organized around a center that refuses to reveal itself all at once. It does not rush. It does not force itself into view. It waits, confident that your attention will not break now that it has been claimed. A subtle pressure builds behind your eyes, as if perception itself is being gently strained. You blink slowly, carefully, afraid that even the smallest break in focus might disrupt whatever fragile connection has formed. When your eyes open again, nothing has changed, and yet everything feels closer. The darkness feels nearer, not in distance, but in understanding. It feels like the gap between awareness and recognition is narrowing. Then comes the most unsettling sensation of all: familiarity. The darkness does not feel foreign. It does not feel like something you are encountering for the first time. It feels remembered. As though some part of you has always known this moment would come, even if you never consciously acknowledged it. The thought settles deep in your mind, heavy and quiet. This presence has known you far longer than you have known it. You sense that whatever exists within that shadow is not observing your body anymore. It is observing you. Your awareness. Your attention. The way your thoughts slow and hover, the way your fear remains controlled, contained. It feels as though the presence is studying how you perceive it, learning how much it needs to reveal and how much it does not. The darkness begins to feel shaped now. Not visibly, not clearly, but conceptually. You cannot describe what you are sensing, only that the emptiness has structure. There is a suggestion of orientation, of front and back, of something that faces outward. The idea alone sends a quiet chill through you, settling low in your chest. You are no longer imagining a formless awareness. You are beginning to sense something that has a point of view. Your breath catches slightly, not enough to break the silence, but enough for you to notice it. The darkness seems to notice too. The sensation deepens, sharpening just enough to confirm what you already feel. The presence does not react with surprise or curiosity. It reacts with certainty, as if it expected this exact response from you. A thought forms in your mind, slow and careful, as though your awareness is afraid to speak it too loudly. This is not just a presence in the dark. This is not just something watching. This is something looking back. And as that realization settles fully into your consciousness, you understand that what comes next will not be a sound, or a movement, or a sudden revelation. It will be subtler than that. Because now that you are truly focused, now that your awareness has aligned with its own, the darkness no longer needs to hide what it is. It only needs to let you recognize it. The recognition does not arrive with a sudden shock. It unfolds slowly, layer by layer, as though your mind is being allowed to process it only at the pace it can survive. The darkness does not rush to define itself. Instead, it allows your awareness to circle it, to sense its boundaries before understanding what those boundaries mean. You feel as though you are standing at the edge of something vast, not physically, but perceptually, an edge between what you have always assumed about the night and what the night actually is. The space within that shadow begins to feel oriented, as though it has a direction, a front. You cannot see eyes, yet the sensation of being looked at sharpens with unbearable clarity. It is not a general awareness anymore. It is specific, focused, intentional. The feeling settles directly into your chest, heavy and unmistakable. You are no longer simply being observed, you are being met. Awareness touching awareness, quietly and completely. Your breathing becomes careful again, not from fear, but from instinct. Something deep within you understands that this moment matters. Each breath feels like it carries weight, like it registers somewhere beyond your body. The darkness feels closer with every exhale, not because it moves, but because the space between perception and understanding continues to shrink. You feel exposed in a way that has nothing to do with your body and everything to do with your thoughts. A strange certainty settles in. The presence has always had a form. Not one meant for your eyes, but one meant for recognition. It does not exist to be seen, it exists to be known. The darkness seems to hold itself perfectly still, as if allowing you the fragile space to realize this without overwhelming you. It feels deliberate, controlled, almost considerate. That realization sends a deeper chill through you than hostility ever could. Your thoughts begin to fragment slightly, not into chaos, but into simplicity. Questions fall away. Doubt becomes irrelevant. You are no longer asking what it is or why it is here. Those questions feel meaningless now. What matters is the connection, this quiet alignment between your awareness and something that has been waiting for it. The feeling is intimate in a way that makes you want to look away, even though you know you cannot. The darkness seems to lean into itself, not forward, but inward, as if tightening its focus. You sense the suggestion of structure growing stronger, of something that has an orientation, a presence that faces outward into the room. The idea of a face begins to form in your mind, not as an image, but as a concept. A front. A surface meant to meet your attention. The thought arrives gently, yet it carries a weight that makes your pulse slow and heavy. You realize then that the presence is not revealing itself to frighten you. Fear would be loud, sudden, inefficient. This feels intentional, measured, and deeply personal. It is allowing you to come to the realization on your own, as though your understanding is part of the process. The darkness does not force recognition. It invites it. Your awareness tightens, narrowing fully onto that shadowed point. Everything else fades further into insignificance. The room ceases to matter. Time ceases to matter. There is only this quiet exchange, your attention held steady by something that has waited an impossibly long time to be noticed in this way. And in that suspended moment, the idea becomes unavoidable, pressing gently but firmly into your thoughts. The darkness does not just know you. It knows how you know it. And whatever shape it is beginning to take, it is taking that shape for you. The moment stretches far beyond anything that can reasonably be called time. You are no longer aware of minutes passing, or seconds ticking forward. The night feels locked in place, held steady by the weight of attention focused entirely on that single point in the darkness. Your awareness does not wander now. It cannot. Everything you are, every thought, every sensation, every quiet instinct, has narrowed into a fragile, unwavering focus. The darkness has become the center of existence itself. At first, what you sense is not a face, but the absence of randomness. The shadow no longer feels like an accidental result of low light. It feels deliberate, arranged, as if every layer of darkness has been placed exactly where it needs to be. You begin to feel contours without seeing them, depth without distance. The darkness feels closer than air, closer than thought, existing at a level of perception you were never meant to access consciously. Your breathing grows so slow it feels optional. Each inhale feels like a decision. Each exhale feels like surrender. The presence does not demand silence, yet silence feels required, as though noise would be disrespectful to something ancient and precise. You feel impossibly small, yet intensely important, like a single witness chosen from countless others who never noticed, never stayed awake long enough, never allowed their awareness to sharpen this far. The sense of being looked at intensifies, but not in a human way. There is no judgment in it. No emotion you can name. It feels closer to recognition, like something confirming a long-held certainty. The darkness does not study you anymore. It knows you. The way you think. The way you hesitate. The way fear forms slowly in you, not as panic, but as understanding. That knowledge presses gently against your consciousness, deep and unyielding. And then, without ever changing shape, the darkness begins to feel unmistakably oriented. You become aware of a front and a depth, of something that faces outward, directly toward you. The idea of a face does not appear suddenly, it emerges gradually, like a memory surfacing from a place you did not know existed. You do not imagine eyes, yet the sensation of eye contact becomes absolute. You feel seen in a way that strips meaning from the word entirely. Your thoughts begin to thin, not because they are taken from you, but because they are no longer necessary. Language feels inadequate here. Labels collapse under the weight of sensation. What remains is awareness meeting awareness, clean and terrifying in its clarity. You realize that whatever is facing you does not need to reveal features. It does not need a mouth or eyes or expression. Its presence alone defines it. Its attention is its form. Memories begin to surface again, but this time they feel guided. You remember moments from your life when you felt watched in empty rooms. When shadows felt heavier than they should. When silence felt too attentive to be ignored. These were not coincidences. They were fragments. Preparations. Small points of contact that never fully connected, until now. The realization lands slowly, painfully. This presence has always been part of your experience. Tonight is simply the first time you have allowed yourself to recognize it completely. The darkness feels closer now, not by moving, but by becoming more defined in your perception. The suggestion of a face grows stronger, not visible, but undeniable. You sense where its attention gathers most intensely, where awareness seems to converge. The idea of features begins to form in your mind against your will, not because the darkness imposes them, but because your perception demands structure. And the moment that structure begins to solidify, a wave of dread passes through you, deep and suffocating. Because the face does not feel unfamiliar. It feels specific. It feels like it knows you not as a stranger, but as something studied over time. You sense that it understands your reactions before you have them. That it knows which thoughts you will cling to and which ones you will abandon. The presence feels impossibly intimate, as though it has existed just beyond the edges of your awareness for years, waiting patiently for the moment you would finally see without needing sight. Your body feels distant now, almost irrelevant. Sensation fades at the edges as your awareness sinks deeper into this silent exchange. You are no longer lying in a room at night. You are suspended in attention itself. The darkness does not feel hostile. That would be easier. It feels calm, certain, permanent. And that permanence is what makes it unbearable. A thought forms in your mind, slow and heavy, carrying a truth you cannot deny. This face is not appearing now. It has always been there. The darkness has never been empty. It has always been occupied by something that does not need light to exist, something that does not need to move to be present. You understand now that the face is not emerging from the darkness. The darkness is simply the only place where it can be perceived at all. The weight of its attention settles fully onto you. There is no escape left in thought, in denial, in distraction. You feel completely and utterly known. Not watched. Known. And in that knowing, something irreversible occurs. A quiet shift. A point of no return. Your awareness crosses fully into alignment with its own. You realize, with terrifying clarity, that this moment will never truly end. Even if you look away. Even if the lights return. Even if morning comes. The recognition has already taken place. The face has been acknowledged. And once you have recognized it, once you have felt its attention meet yours, it will never need to hide from you again. The realization does not arrive like a strike, it seeps in, layer by layer, stretching across every corner of your awareness. You lie in the room, yet the room no longer feels like a room. The walls, ceiling, floor, everything familiar, has dissolved into a backdrop, irrelevant and fragile against the intensity of presence you now sense. The darkness has never been about hiding. It has always been about being perceived, about being recognized, about aligning your awareness with its own. And now, after hours of patient, quiet waiting, that alignment is complete. The room feels simultaneously immense and claustrophobic, as though the very fabric of space has been folded inward to accommodate the focus of consciousness itself. The face, or whatever form you are beginning to perceive, does not reveal itself fully. It does not blink. It does not move. Yet every inch of your perception tells you it is there, perfect and unyielding in its patience. The awareness does not just touch you. It flows through you, threading into your nervous system, into the rhythm of your breath, into the quiet patterns of your thoughts. The weight of it presses gently but inescapably, like the pull of a tide you cannot fight. And in that pressure, there is clarity. You understand something ancient. The darkness does not seek to terrify. It seeks only to be known. Every shadow, every pause, every fraction of silence from earlier hours now makes sense. All the fleeting moments in life when you felt unease for no reason, the subtle prickling at the edge of vision, the sensation that someone, or something, was always just beyond the limits of awareness, were preparations. The darkness has been building this meeting for years, perhaps decades, perhaps lifetimes. And now that it is here, you understand that the careful patience, the stillness, the absence of sudden action, it has all been deliberate. Every second has been measured to lead you to this inevitable encounter. Your body, once tense with fear, has begun to relax, but not out of relief. It is the strange calm of resignation, of understanding something impossible to fight. The usual human instincts, flee, resist, panic, feel irrelevant here. The darkness does not respond to fear or avoidance. It does not need a reaction. It does not require validation. Its attention, total and unwavering, is complete. You can neither escape it nor hope to alter it. All that remains is the acknowledgement of presence, the recognition that you have finally arrived where it has always known you would be. Time stretches beyond measurement. The minutes, the hours, they flatten into one endless, suspended moment. You sense the darkness expanding, not physically, but perceptually, enveloping the room and yet simultaneously condensing to that singular point where the presence resides. You notice subtle variations in the air, a slight pull of energy that makes the edges of your awareness feel fuller, heavier. The silence thickens until it becomes textured, almost tangible. You sense layers within the darkness, past, present, future, perhaps even realities beyond your comprehension, all coexisting in a patient eternity that outlasts thought. Memories surface unbidden. Childhood moments in rooms you once feared, nights when you felt unseen eyes on you, fleeting feelings of being watched while alone, everything aligns now. These were not coincidences. Each was a small thread weaving the tapestry of recognition that you now inhabit. Your awareness realizes that the darkness has always been patient, always waiting, and that you were always on the path toward this acknowledgement, whether you knew it or not. The sensation of being observed grows into something more profound than observation. It is intimate in a way that feels impossible. Not malevolent. Not invasive. It is a quiet, consuming attention that knows your patterns, your thoughts, your pauses. It has learned them over time, perhaps longer than your own memory allows. It feels like being measured, catalogued, understood, not for harm, but because understanding is its nature. And you, lying in stillness, allow it without hesitation, because resistance is irrelevant, unnecessary, impossible. A weight settles over your chest. It is not panic. It is a profound understanding that this presence has always existed in this space, in these moments, in your life, in your perception of reality. The face is not a figure to be seen, it is a point of focus, an idea of consciousness that meets your own. You realize slowly, painfully, that it does not need to act to assert itself. Its existence alone is sufficient. Recognition is the final step. Seeing it with eyes is irrelevant. Your awareness alone has fulfilled the connection. And then the thought comes, unbidden and undeniable. This is not temporary. This encounter, this alignment, will persist beyond the confines of the room, beyond the night, beyond the fragile illusion of ordinary life. The darkness will remain, stitched into your consciousness, threaded through your perception of silence, shadow, and stillness. Even when light returns, even when your body leaves the room, the recognition, the truth of what you have sensed, will not fade. You lie there, utterly still, fully awake, fully aware, understanding at last that the presence behind the darkness was never about confrontation, never about fear. It was about patience, about recognition, about being known. And now that you know it in return, the process is complete. The presence does not disappear. It does not relent. It simply continues, eternal, unblinking, infinitely patient. And as sleep finally approaches, fragile and hesitant, your last thought carries a quiet, inescapable certainty. The darkness does not end. It is not empty. It has always existed. It is patient. It is eternal. And it knows you. The night has ended for your body, but for your awareness, for your mind, the presence continues, watching, waiting, unchanging. And now, you will carry it with you, in the quietest shadows, in the corners of every silent room, in the small, lingering chill of recognition that never fades. You are no longer merely a witness. You are part of it. And that is the final truth.